And welcome back to Nancy's Neighborhood. And I told you I have two guests on today, that this is the first time I've met either one of them. I really enjoyed the interview with Chris, and hopefully I will enjoy the one with Dwayne, because I'm going to be totally at a loss of what I need to ask, but I'm hoping he can fill in the blanks. But Dwayne Hamby, and he's with the Church of God of Prophecy. He's the communications director. And tell us a little bit about yourself. What does communications director entail?
Well, really, my main expertise is I was brought into Cleveland to work on the monthly magazine. We have a monthly magazine that we send out across the world. It's called the White Wing Messenger. We print in English, Spanish, and French.
Oh, wow.
So this is what it looks like.
Very
I don't know
good.
if you like visual aids on this
visual aids
program
are
or
great.
not.
And the producers love visual aids.
Okay,
they'll
good,
get you
yeah.
right on the screen. Yes.
All right, great. So I was brought on to do that, and then the job has kind of expanded a little bit, and we do a lot of social media too. And there is another communications department in the building that really handles more of the website and video. But on my end, it's social media and editorial, art, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And isn't it amazing that when you're hired to do X becomes XYZ, and maybe it goes back to ABC.
Yeah, but that's the fun thing, though.
It
keeps you
is.
from getting bored, really.
It is. So now I just have to ask this tacky little question. Does this mean that you can read and write in French and Spanish, or does somebody else do that, since you do the
Yeah,
magazine?
that's not a tacky question, but
Okay.
I cannot read or write in Spanish
Okay.
or French. I can sometimes carry on a conversation in Spanish if I'm surrounded for a while. You know, it's like that immersive thing.
Right.
If I am thinking that terms, I can't carry on like a complex conversation. It's
got
kind of
you.
like, you know, where's the bathroom and
I can
what
do that.
time
I
is
can do that in
church and all that
Spanish.
kind of
Yes.
stuff, you know,
Yes.
just like first grade level for them.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, we do have a team of translators at the building, so
Oh,
they
neat.
translate everything into Spanish and French.
That's super to know, because honestly, I've been to Guatemala a couple of times, and on the airplane, I could read the Spanish written newspaper. I mean, I could translate it in my mind. I knew the news I was reading, but as far as me actually being able to read it as it was supposed to be read from the way it was written, no, it would.
Right.
But I got the gist of it
Yeah.
from the words I could pick out.
My wife is watching a show right now that's all Spanish, and it's on Netflix. She's watching it, and it plays in my house all day, and I keep thinking she's going to learn Spanish before it's over. But every once in a while, I'll hear a word. I'll like, oh, that's church. Oh, that's time. You know, like just words, but I have no idea what they're saying.
Well,
most
now,
of the time.
does she understand what they're
No,
saying? Oh, okay.
she doesn't. It's closed caption. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, fascinating. All right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So I think that you all just got back from we used to call it General Assembly. What
General
is it?
Assembly,
General
and now
Assembly.
it's International Assembly.
Okay.
So last week, or the week before,
Yes.
actually, time just kind of blurs when
Tell
something
me.
like that. But this is our big event every other year. It used to be every year. And so you were telling me before the program that you weren't that familiar, but if you lived in Cleveland since 1980, then you were immersed in the assembly at least once a week. Every September, mostly, I think, is when it
okay.
happened then. And we would just totally overwhelm this city. And like you said, people would rent out their houses and rent out their rooms. We had so many less motels back then, too.
Right.
I don't think I ever stayed in a hotel in Cleveland during the assembly. I stayed with friends. I was at the campus. I lived in the college, you know, stayed in the dorm. But, you know, to get a hotel room in Cleveland for the assembly was kind of like, you know, the Christian lottery, I guess, or
I
whatever.
guess you're right about that.
Yeah.
Seems like we might have had 4, maybe 5 motels in
Yeah, that's
Cleveland at
right,
the time,
yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah, and so your restaurants, of course, were overwhelmed as well. And I remember those days. I've only been around we've had 100 assemblies, and I brought a book to show you. They have just done a coffee table book.
Oh, how
It's a
neat.
beautiful coffee table book. White Wing Publishing did it. They're selling it at the bookstore, but it's
Okay.
a picture book of 100 assemblies,
Wow.
all these historical pictures. So they debuted it during our assembly, and it sold out quickly. So actually, I borrowed this book, or else I would give it to you.
No,
I have
no.
to take it back. But anyway, they have some on order. But you'll see some beautiful pictures of Cleveland. You know, the assembly really got started really good. Most of our time has been in Cleveland. So when we came to Chattanooga, when we had the 100th one, it was just a suggestion. It was like, well, it's 100. Why don't we get as close to Cleveland as we can? We don't have the big tabernacle anymore.
Right.
That's a Chick-fil-A and a Bi-Lo. Or no, Food City. That's,
And yes,
Yeah,
and the Cleveland Bradley Teachers Federal Credit Union.
That's right.
Too.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's going to good use. But
Right.
we got as close as we could to Cleveland, which is Chattanooga Convention Center. We were a little nervous. We weren't sure how much it would be able to accommodate our people. We knew that everybody would want to come back for the 100th. We wound up having around 11,000 people there.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask what you averaged.
Yeah, and the Chattanooga Convention Visitors Bureau put out a list before the assembly of the top 10 events in Chattanooga for the year in terms of economic impact, and we were number 2, but that's when they estimated our attendance at 9,000.
Oh.
So if we had 11,000, we were probably neck and neck with the Ironman competition,
You
which
jumped.
is 11,000 people.
Yeah.
And they estimated the impact around, at 9,000 people, they estimated our impact about $7.46 million to the city of Chattanooga. So they're very glad for us to be there. The Convention Visitors Bureau did a fantastic job. They really helped us out. Everything that we might have been concerned about, people getting food or fitting in there, they just rolled out the red carpet. So it was great. It was like coming back home, as close as we could get to home, as closest to Cleveland.
And that's great. And one thing about Chattanooga, you've got all of Hamilton County that you could actually work with, whereas in Bradley County, we're spread out. A lot of people might not want to go all the way to Charleston or this and that and the other, or over where I live in Georgetown or this and that and the other. So to me, Chattanooga would be a wonderful place for a convention.
Oh yeah, and when I used to do some concerts in Cleveland, and we would advertise to the Chattanooga area, and people would always tell us, Chattanooga people will not drive to Cleveland. Cleveland will drive to Chattanooga.
That is true. That is
I
true.
don't know if that's still true because Cleveland has so much, but we don't travel as much to Chattanooga as we used to because of how much we have in Cleveland now.
Right.
Cleveland's really grown.
And of course, being a small business owner in Cleveland, I always say, shop local.
Shop local.
Don't go.
That's right.
But the kind of investment that you all made. How many million did you say? 6.4? Was that what you said?
7.46 is what they estimated our impact. Now that's not what it costs to put it on.
Oh, I know that.
But yeah, that's what
That's your
hotel rooms, restaurants,
yeah.
parking, all that stuff. Yeah, maybe even the aquarium. The aquarium was really nice. While we were in Chattanooga, we got tweets from Rock City and Ruby Falls that says, hey, Kogop people, come over and check out our beautiful, landscape here. And I hope they did because we love Chattanooga. We love this area. And so I want other people to fall in love with it too. And it seems like they did that.
That's
too.
exactly right, because it would be very nice if they would fall in love with it so you can come back.
Right, yeah.
Because anytime you've done something once, the second time's easier.
Right.
And the third time's even easier.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know the hurdles to jump and you know the doors that are going to slam and you know all of that. So it's a whole lot easier to work it once you've been there and done that.
Right. We've had a lot of people who have asked us about coming back. Of course, the Convention Visitors Bureau once, and that's always nice. If they don't ask you to come back, then you're like, oh, okay,
Yes, what did we do?
Yeah, that's above my pay grade, the decision to come back. But I would certainly I'd vote in favor of it probably at some point. We're going to Orlando in 2020.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Orlando.
You're right.
Okay.
We've been in Orlando twice.
Have you? I'm guessing the price of living for the week in Orlando is more than Chattanooga? Or not?
They actually make us they have done a really good deal for hotel rooms in
good.
Orlando
Okay.
For the assembly. I mean, you in Orlando in the middle of the summer, you probably can't find really good rates, but we stay at the Rosen Shingle Creek. It's all contained in there.
Oh, nice.
We have some other properties that the Rosen owns, but they do a really good job. They help us out with our rates. I think are very, very good for especially in the middle of summer.
And I think that's great because, if you're going to bring that kind of financial impact in, people need to cut you a little bit of a deal somewhere.
Oh, yeah. And in Chattanooga, they the food trucks came in.
Oh, neat.
And there was all kinds of cool stuff. They really, like I said, they really took care of us.
And that is great. That is really great. So you do this every 2 years, and so now you know where you're going in 2020.
That's right.
Do you already know where you're going in 2022? Or
No,
have
we
they
don't.
didn't?
Not
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
that'll
don't
be
get that far ahead of yourself.
Yeah, that'll be a decision for later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand because you don't. You might get another offer from Chattanooga. Come back
Oh,
and
that's
we'll
right.
do this
yeah.
and that. You
Some
know.
places bid, do bids and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's good to know. And we'd love to have you back in Cleveland, but we don't have 11,000 people coming into Cleveland.
Yeah. Where would we put
I
them?
don't know where we'd put them, and I don't
have
know where we'd feed
outside.
them, and I don't know what we'd do. And then,
Well, we did it before.
I know.
I think we could feed them now because
Okay,
they fed
well-
them before.
that is true.
I used to, when I was a kid, it was in Cleveland, and what I really appreciated, what I loved about the assembly was I was like 14 or 15. I didn't drive. I didn't know a lot of people who did, and or didn't hang around a bunch of people who did. So when it was in Cleveland, they had school buses running from the tabernacle all over town. So I would come to assembly, and me and my friends would say, "Hey, we want to go eat on the other side of town." We'd just hop in a school bus and go.
How neat.
And so it was fun. It was like an adventure for me, as a
Right.
14, 15-year-old
Right.
boy, just go. We get on the wrong school bus one time, and we went all the way to the end of Cleveland, saw more of it than we ever thought we would.
Well, when my husband and I used to have a business in town called Case and Art, and we were over in the old world headquarters of the Church of God on Central Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking that was the Church of God of Prophecy.
Right.
Okay. And the tabernacle was across the street from that at the time. I mean, we're talking years. In fact,
Right, yeah.
probably at the very front of that book
Right, yeah.
are some pictures of the old Case and Art building the old Church of God headquarters. And we love that building.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We manufactured out of there. We had little vignette art galleries in there, and it was absolutely wonderful. In fact, we had hoped that at the time that the people looking to build a museum would purchase that building because of the historic value of that building.
Right.
But they didn't. So that's okay. That's down the road and beside the point. But anyway,
I should say, too, if it's okay, if anybody's interested in seeing what happened at the assembly, everything was webcast. Everything's
good.
archived. It was awesome services. It was just wonderful. Our assembly is very diverse. We had 2,000 or 3,000, maybe more, from overseas that came. So every session had a different flair to it, and we're all just worshiping in there together. So it's really neat. We had the Dominicans one time, and they're leading worship, and they're up there enjoying it. And then we have Jamaicans and the Bahama Brass Band.
I was going to ask if the Bahama Brass
Yeah,
Band was
yeah.
still around.
And-
yes,
yeah,
because
and-
I remember when they came to Cleveland.
Oh yeah, and they used
They
to
were
march
awesome.
through.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were awesome.
We did a pre-assembly thing, the first time we've done it since we've been back at Fields of the Wood.
I saw that too. Dwight Richardson put
yeah.
that on Facebook.
And
yes.
they estimated 7,000 people there
Wow.
that day, and that went so well. Again, those are 2-lane roads going up there. That's where my people are from, my mom and dad's people. So I was just thinking the whole time, oh Lord, how what's going to happen once everybody comes up these 2-lane roads?
Right.
But it was really seamless. It was a really nice day. They fed everybody. It was beautiful.
Fantastic.
It was overcast until it was over, and then it rained. We prayed that to happen. So. That was beautiful. For some reason, the DOT thought it might be a good day to start construction on River Road that day. So on the way out, I thought, okay, now who did not get the memo about this? But everything else, it was a beautiful day. It was really neat. And I took my girls. My wife had to work that day, so I took I have twin 5-year-olds and an 8-year-old. And we just walked around and we sat up on the mountain and listened to the sermon and the worship, and they loved it. They loved being outside and seeing everybody.
And as a Methodist, I will tell you right now, I love your music. There's nobody's music any better than the Church of God and the Church of God of Prophecy. and I have a really dear friend who's a Church of God minister, and I have told him numerous times, if I hadn't been born a Methodist and raised a Methodist, I'd be over at his church right now, because your music is so uplifting. I mean, it
Right.
just if you're not even preaching a sermon, to me, some of that music preaches itself.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love it. And to me, there's no need. And Alex is holding up. We got 1 minute. Okay,
Oh, wow.
1 minute.
It
Dwayne.
goes
I
by
know.
so quick.
I tell people that it goes by so quick. So it has been great
Thank you
meeting you and
for letting
having
me
you on
come.
today. And I'm so glad to learn some of the things I learned. And I'm so glad that Chattanooga was welcoming to you all.
Yeah, they were.
I think we want East Tennessee to behave itself and be nice and kind.
Well,
to
we want
people.
our people to behave themselves, and I think they did too. I think, yeah.
I think if Chattanooga's wanting you back, they must have. So,
Yeah, that's
so
good.
if I don't see you before you go to Orlando, have a big time, but surely I'll see you before then. So thanks so much, Dwayne, for being on with me today, because I've learned a lot, and I hope our folks out there have too.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
And folks, we're going to take that commercial break again. Now remember, you watch our commercials, you support our sponsors because they pay our bills. And I'll be right back with some upcoming events that are happening this weekend and a few weeks out in Cleveland, Bradley County, even some happening in McMinn County. So don't go away. I'll be right back.